in the JLI class, everybody knows that it says in Tanya that Hamachadish B'tuvei B'chol Yom Tamed Masa Bereshis, that the world is being created over and over again, every second. And if it stopped for a second, it would disappear. So the Rebbe once said, why does it have to be that way? The whole mashal with the throwing of the stone and the stone, okay, that's all the way the Eibishter created it to be. Why did he create it that way? So it certainly is possible that the Eibishter should create a world that doesn't need to be recreated every second. So why did he create it this way? Because he wants to be involved every moment and every second in the... You realize what it says in that pasuk? HaMachadesh B'tuvei. If you're just trying to tell me that he's recreating the world, so HaMachadesh B'chol Yom. What's B'tuvei? It says B'feidish. He's doing it out of goodness, not because it has to be that way. How many times have we read that pasuk and we don't pick up on that word? It's scary. Yeah. So what do we want to do here? Hine yadua de'erein seif baruch hu hoya memale kol hacholol she'ata bei ha'elamis. Yeah? Ata with an ayin. Achakach, ki sha'ola b'rtzeinei livrei ha'olam, tzimtzem es atzmei v'nasa cholol u'mokum poni. V'achakach himshich kav v'chut me'eirei shalamayla mehecholol l'techa cholol. U'min hakav hazeh sheiresh kol ha'eireis. U'min hecholol v'harishimu sheiresh hakelim. So we want to understand three things. What is a cholol? What is a kav? And what is harishima? You can't really say that this is the etzem of Chassidus. It's more Kabbalah. So what does Chassidus add? What is the cholol? What is the kav? And what is the rishima? How many times have you had this in a maimer and just made sense, right?
Like B'tuvei.
A cholol, you make a loch and you fill it in. And I can make a knedel. You put it in. So how would we say that in English? first of all, it's a little bit off the subject. What does it mean that the world was created yesh me'ayin? What does ayin mean? Sometimes it says efes hamuchlot. Ayin ve'efes hamuchlot. It's like there's nothing, but then there's really nothing. What is that? Or ayin mamish. So there are degrees of nothingness. You're nothing, but I'm really nothing. The world is described as kodmoi haheder. Before there was the world, it was not. Well, what does that mean? Before the chicken lays an egg, there's no egg. Yeah? There's no egg. None. It's not existent. So where did it come from? From the chicken. Which means even when there is no egg, but there is a chicken, if there's a chicken, there's already an egg. The egg hasn't happened yet, but if there's a chicken, there's an egg. Not bepoil, bekoyach. Not begili, behelam. But to say efes mamish, not efes mamish. It's in the chicken. Same thing. If the Eibishter is a creator, then you can't say the creation came out of nowhere. If there's a creator, then there's a creation. If he is a beire, then there's already a nivra. It hasn't happened yet. So it's not, but not mamish not, right? Because there's already a world waiting to become. Well, the same thing is true with, if you're a writer, then there's a book. You haven't written it yet. But you can't have a writer and there's no book. Then what makes him a writer? So why don't we say the same thing about the Eibishter, about creation? The world didn't exist bepoil, but it existed bekoyach, because the Eibishter is a creator, so there's already a creation, like an egg in a chicken. So when it says ayin ve'efes mamish, it means not only does it not exist lepoil, it doesn't even exist bekoyach. Why? If the Eibishter is the creator, then there's already a creation. If there's a chicken, there's already an egg. What's the answer? The Eibishter is not a creator. The Eibishter is an Eibishter. So he created. He's not a creator.
But he created it in a way of Yeshmai. The way of creation was...
Because there was nothing there.
But once he lowers himself down to actually just becoming a creator, then it's there. It's not Yeshmai anymore. So it's almost like the creator is Yeshmai.
So of course the world did exist in koyach before it became poil. But the place in which the world exists b'koyach is already a step down from Eibishter. Because lav urchoy de malkol ishtamet b'mila de hadjeta. That's not even right for the Eibishter to create. Not a creator, not a carpenter. So it's completely out of character for the Eibishter to create a world. It's almost like saying the chicken laid a golf ball. If a chicken laid a golf ball, how would you describe that? Where did this golf ball come from? The chicken? Golf balls don't come from chickens. Which means the chicken didn't have a potential golf ball waiting. So where did it come from? Ayin. There's another way in which something can exist before it exists. And that is not in potential, in koyach, but in inyan. The svara says that it should exist. You know, it's like it would be the right thing for it to exist. It doesn't exist at all, not even in potential. But it should. In that case also, it's not complete ayin. Because the svara says that it should exist. So when we say the world is yesh ma'ayin, it means it doesn't exist, it's not even a potential, and there's no reason for it to exist. So you have three levels. Ayin, ve'efes, mamish. Ayin means it doesn't exist. Efes means there's no potential for it to exist. And mamish means there's no excuse for it to exist. In Ilu va'olu, if you have a svara that says that something is the right thing, then it will produce a midah of ahava. You'll want it. You'll run after it. Why? Because the svara says. So if it's a svara, that itself creates a reality. There's no svara that the world should exist. There is nothing about the world that demands its existence. So it's ayin ve'efes mamish. So how do we go about explaining what happened? Ola b'rtzaynai. So describe it. What happened? I mean, without using Kabbalah words, just what's the process? Ola b'rtzaynai, he decided he wants to create a world. So there was a problem. How do you create a world when you're occupying all the space? What space? What are we talking about? There was no space. Obviously.
You make space.
Hmm?
you want to make a world, you make space.
So that's already creation. So it doesn't say he created a space. No. He removed himself. Where did he go? From where to where? Tzimtzum es atzmei, and left an emptiness. Where? There was no where. So let's try it again. The Eibishter was everywhere and didn't leave room for the world to exist. Say that in simple language. Ola b'ritzeinu livrei olam. What did he decide to do?
Create a world.
Huh?
Create a world.
What does that mean?
Make something besides for himself.
Oh, he wanted something besides himself. Obviously, that's a problem. How can anything exist beside himself? That's what it means, that he was mimale kol mokim hacholol. The place in which the world is now, he was, if you think about it in terms of geography, so what was the problem? How can something exist beside himself when he is everything and everywhere? And right? What's the solution? So if you think about it in simple, pragmatic, I want somebody to share my life with. No, so what's the first thing I have to do? I have to leave room for another person. Not room, Gashmi's dika room. Emotional room. In different words, I have to let you be you. If I want someone besides myself, I have to let you be who you are and not make you into me.
Doesn't that want already count as a space? Doesn't the desire for somebody else in your life already count as a space for them to be?
Depends on what your desire is. Could be, like the Mishnah says, Ishas re'eyu chayim bloi. You can want to swallow up the other. Or fakeret. You dafke want the other to not be swallowed up by you. Then it's another. Otherwise it's not another, it's just more of you. So what's the first thing the Eibishter has to do in order for a world to exist? He has to allow. So what is the tzimtzum es atzmei? In order for you to exist, he has to make room for you. What is the result? The result is there's an emptiness. He leaves room. He leaves room means there's an emptiness. That emptiness is like a vacuum, because, and according to science, nature hates a vacuum. What was the expression? Nature abhors a vacuum. Question, in the laws of Teva, nothing remains empty. There's no such thing as empty. Either water will rush in, air will rush in. Nature does not allow empty space. In the negative, if you leave an empty space, who's going to fill that space? Shadim. That's why you're not allowed to go into an abandoned building. It's a sakana. That's why you're not allowed to have not allowed to be empty-minded, empty-headed, because something that not ankrichen, because every empty space is immediately filled with something. So what is an empty space? An empty space is like an invitation for someone else. If I leave an empty space, it means it's an invitation for somebody else. If it's empty without a purpose, stam empty, then it becomes a negative. Bad things will be drawn to it. But if I'm leaving the space specifically for you, that space will invite you, will attract you, will draw you. So, once there is an empty space, guess what happens? It draws oir into itself. That's the kav. Why is it called the kav? Any idea?
It's a very thin bit.
Thin, skinny,
Not much to it.
long. A kav means a line. You can have where chesed, gvura, teferes are all on the same level. It's a horizontal. Or you can have a vertical, chesed, gvura, teferes. A kav means a downward line. So that gvura is under chesed, teferes is under gvura. When you have a vertical, when you have a horizontal line, that's toihu. Gvura is not bottled to chesed, teferes is not bottled to gvura. They're all equal. Vayimlech vayomes. Yeah? By the Bnei Esav. They don't get along. They're all kings. All chiefs, no Indians. That's Eilam HaTohu. The kav is Eilam HaTikun. What's the Rishima? The Rishima is the effect that was left by the oir that was withdrawn. It's like a father wants his son to be a lamdan. L'mashal. There are such fathers. He wants his son to be a lamdan. But he wants his son to be a lamdan. So if he forces, if he insists, then he's the one who's becoming the lamdan. The son is just a... So in order for his desire to be effective, he has to back off and let the son become a lamdan. Like, for example, La'ilam yilmad adam b'mokim sheli b'chafetz. So you want your son to be a lamdan, but let him pick where he has a chafetz. A cheshik. So the fact that the father wants his son to be a lamdan, but he can't pressure, he can't. So the desire of the father has no effect? So if the son asks his father, how much should I learn? What should I learn? The father says, it's up to you, you decide. So he's not imposing his will. But the will that he has, that he wants his son to be a lamdan, does that affect the son at all? It does. That's the reshima. The bli gvul oir, without a tzimtzum, has an effect on what happens after the tzimtzum. Does this make sense or not? How does it have an effect? The reshima is the little bit of effect that the original Eir HaBligvul had. If you want to put it in different words. First there was Eilam HaTayu, then there was Eilam HaTikun. What'd you need Tayu for? Skip it. It didn't work. It's a failed experiment. What'd you do it for? Skip it. Does Eilam HaTayu have a positive effect on Eilam HaTikun? So it's like the Uber b'mei imei learns the whole Torah, but then when he's born he forgets it. So what was the point? What was the point?
Has an effect on the baby later.
How?
And then start again. And then start again later.
Which means there's some distant, lingering effect that when he learns Torah in Eilam Hazeh, it sounds a little bit familiar. So you can't say he knows Torah. Doesn't know Torah. So what was the benefit of having learned it b'mei imei? There is a lingering effect after he forgets. That's the reshima.
What would that effect mean here?
In Ma'aseh Bereishis, that there is a certain element of bli gvul in the gvul. Even like the fact that there could be a ness. Where does that come from? Even in Teva, there's a psashtikal memory of L'mayla min Teva. So it leaves a certain bittul in the kav. In fact, again, what is the difference between Tayu and Tikkun? In Tayu, the middays, the svires, don't get along. They don't tolerate each other. In Eilam HaTikun, they do get along. Why? Because in Eilam HaTikun, there's a certain bittul that makes the svires flexible. Like chesed is not going to insist only chesed can exist. And gvura is not going to insist that only I can exist. It has enough bittul to leave room for the other one also. So you can have gvura shebe chesed, chesed shebe gvura. They can cooperate. Where does that bittul come from? From the Eir HaBligvul. So what effect does the reshima have? It leaves a little bit of a bittul in each of the sviras so that they can be tikkun. And one more muscle. A person gets very, very excited about a project. He is so excited about the project that he can't do it. If he would start doing the project with that excitement, he would destroy everything. Too fast, too much, not beseder, it would overwhelm the activity. When you're very excited, you can't even talk straight. You want to say what you're excited about, the words don't come out in a seder. So the intensity of the excitement doesn't let you do it. So in order to do it, you have to calm down. The excitement has to soften and back off. Otherwise, it will overwhelm your activity. So you back it off. Now you can act in an orderly, mesudadika fashion, and you do the project.
Which is the cup.
So the question is, what do you need all that excitement for? Why don't you skip that step? The answer is, without that excitement, why would you bother doing it? Yeah, now you're Masuda, now you can do it. But now you don't know why you should. Not excited anymore. So the excitement that didn't allow you to do it has to leave a certain impression that will motivate you to do it, but without destroying your activities. So what is Olam HaTohu? Olam HaTohu is the initial excitement of creation didn't allow creation. It had to calm down. So then the question is, so why not just skip it? You can't skip it. The excitement that you put aside leaves an effect on the activity that motivates it and makes it happen, but in a mesudadika fashion, because you're not overwhelming it. So the Rishimu is the Eir that was there before, which was very intense. The Kav is not so intense. It's more Mesudar, Olam HaTikun. But without the Rishimu, there wouldn't be that importance or that urgency. So when the excitement is completely revealed, it's mevatel all the activities, so that you can't do it. But when you back it off, it leaves enough bittul for the sfiras to get along, not so much bittul that they can't exist. Make sense? So, a guy this uses the mashal. A person wants to build himself a house. Very excited. Very excited. He's impatient. It has to happen. He wants... No. Back off. You're going to end up with a lopsided house, halb de bakken, because you rushed it too much, and it's going to be... Back off. Let the workers do their job. So, when you back off, you don't want the house so much anymore? No, you still want it as much. Didn't change your mind, didn't lose interest. But all that desire and all that excitement is on a side, it's not directly affecting the activities.
So what effect does it have?
It keeps the activity going. And the proof,
different than...
One second, and the proof of it is, when the house is finished, look at the excitement. Then that original excitement comes back begili, because it never really went away. That's called Seif Maise b'machshava tchila. When will you see the full excitement that had to be nistzamtzem? You will see it at the end. When the world is completed, in other words, when Mashiach comes, then the Eibishter can reveal the full excitement that he had when he first started. So in the beginning, what is that Eir and Seif? Rotzen. There was too much Rotzen, too much excitement, too intense. It didn't allow for the world to be created. What did he have to do? He had to remove some of that Rotzen, in other words, leave room for the other to exist. Leaving room is an invitation. Darkness is an invitation to light. So the darkness, the cholol, makom panui, drew into it. That's Eir Bekeli. That's Olam HaTikun. So now, what is the Eir, the Kav? It's Rotzen. But it's Rotzen broken down into orderly pieces. So what does it mean? The world was created, the first day was Chesed, the second day was Gvura, the third day was... What is that? The Rotzen expressed itself on the first day, it expressed itself in Chesed, which is a limited expression of Rotzen. What is the second day? Gvura. What's Gvura? Rotzen expressing itself in Gvura. So what does it mean? Kol shechofetz Hashem asa. The Eibishter created everything with his Rotzen. I thought he created it with Chesed. Every Rotzen can come across as Rotzen. That's destructive. That's a tantrum.
How did it change that?
Huh?
How did it change?
That's Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means I will express my Rotzen in a Keli. Not pure Rotzen. I don't know if you heard about this, but the people who went in and out of the Rebbe's room every day knew that sometimes you would walk into the Rebbe's room and the Rebbe is upset about something and you don't know what. He wants something and he's not saying what. And that's when they were terrified. They were like afraid to go in. You remember seeing the video of the Rebbe on Yutes Kislev on the balcony? And the Rebbe saying, no, and nobody knows what he wants. So somebody said, the Rebbe wants us to sing. The Rebbe wants us to say, to do a siyum shas, Yutes Kislev, after you make the siyum shas, you know. And everybody had a svara, vos villa, for 6 hours. You remember this? For 6 hours the Rebbe was sitting there, no, try this, try that. I was sitting upstairs, so I said, maybe the Rebbe wants And Rabbi Krinsky said, back. This happens. The Rebbe has Rotzen in its pure. It's not this or that. It's Koyach HaRotzen without.
Never got what that really meant.
Huh?
Is that it? Koyach without something specific.
Mm-hmm. Etzem Koyach HaRotzen. At any rate, the point is that Rotzen can come across, that's like say, Rotzen Sheberotzen, or it can be Chesed Sheberotzen, Gvura Sheberotzen. So it's your Rotzen, but you're expressing yourself, like, what is Chesed? What's Chesed? Doing kindness. Why are you doing kindness? Because you want to. It's Rotzen expressed in a particular form. All the Sfiras are like that. In fact, what is a Sfira? What's a Sfira? A Sfira means a Gili. Yeah? A shine. What's a Gili? A Gili of what? A Gili of his Ratzon. So he's Megale his Ratzon either gently, or intensely, or compassionately, or determined. So each one of the Sfiras is a finite expression of an infinite Ratzon. That's Eires Bikelim. Sometimes a Bacha would say, I was by a Fabrenga and I was Neseder and I decided I really, really want to learn. And it never happens. Next day. So what's going on? So, you never really wanted. No, fakert. You wanted so much you couldn't even begin. The Rotzen is so big. So okay, I really, really want to learn. Let's see. Just one page? It's too slow. I want to learn. And so learn. Why dafke this? So you have to come with a Rotzen to learn this blot. But you don't have that Rotzen. Dafke this blot. I don't learn this blot. We'll learn it. It kills it. It's to you. That's a problem that all Fabrengens speak in generalities. Daf lernen, daf davenen. Yeah. Everybody agrees. Nobody does. What, you have to convince me I'm daf lernen? I don't know I'm daf lernen. No, if you wanted to learn more, you would learn. No, the more I want, the less I'm going to learn. Unless you tell me, by a Fabrengen, memuz lernen daf yud gimel of Seita. Because that's what I'm going to open to tomorrow morning. And if I don't have a cheshik for that, I'm not going to learn it. Ich will lernen? Yeah. Wat? Ich will lernen. Daf davenen. You mean Shachris? You mean tomorrow? If you're not specific, it's stam a toyu dikirotzen. So that's the tzimtzum. The tzimtzum is mekenish stam ola b'rtzeinei. That's too big. So you're mitzamtzum it into a keli. And that keli doesn't just allow the rotzen, it draws the rotzen. A keli is not passive. It's an empty vessel, it's an empty keli. You put in whatever you want. That's again tayu. You can put in whatever you want. That's plishtim. Movi mefulish. That's klippa. Keli in kedusha means the keli draws what it needs, not whatever. So the keli of chesed draws the eira chesed. So the rotzen expresses itself in chesed, in a keli of chesed. So that's the kav. The kav means rotzen in bite-sized pieces. What's the reshima? The reshima is, I still remember how much I want it. That gives it the takeif, the consistency, the urgency. It's going to happen because of the reshima. How is it going to happen? According to the kav. Does it make any sense at all or no?
How do you go about making kelim play?
A father gets very angry at his kid. Has to discipline the kid. What's he going to do? There is hardly a father in the world who wants to destroy his kid. And yet, there are so many fathers who destroy their kid. How come? The father wants to help the kid. But when does he want to help the kid? When the child does something that upsets him so much that he doesn't know what he's doing. He wants to fix it so badly, he messes it up. Which means he didn't find the keli for his desire. When you say to the father, what'd you do to your kid? He says, what do you mean, what did I do? I tried to help him with every ounce of my... right, too many ounces. Taka meant well. But he didn't find the keli for that rotzen. He wanted so much to fix the kid that all the kid heard was his rotzen, not a keli that the kid can relate to. So all he knows is that his father was very upset. No, how does that help? Oh, I said something and my father got really angry. Yeah, and that's it. So now you'll be careful not to do that again. You don't want to get him that angry again. But nothing constructive. So how do you find the keli? The stronger the rotzen and the stronger the urgency, the more you have to back off until you find a keli for it. So if you get really upset, you have to wait till tomorrow to say something. Even in good things. You read about how desperate the Frierdiker Rebbe was to bring the Rebbitzin and the Rebbe to America. It's heart-wrenching. No, the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin arrived. The Frierdiker Rebbe wouldn't see them for 3 days. Pasha didn't. I'm not sure exactly the timing of it. The Frierdiker Rebbe's office, his room, was downstairs where the Rebbe's office. The Frierdiker Rebbe lived there because it was hard for him to go on steps. When the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin arrived, the Frierdiker Rebbe moved upstairs and gave the room to them. So they lived there, in the Yechidus room. So first the Frierdiker Rebbe lived there, then the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin lived there. So the Rebbe was upstairs, his daughter, who he was waiting for so long, and the Rebbe were downstairs. They did not see each other for 3 days. Why? Everything has to be in a keli. The excitement of seeing them was a little too much. It took 3 days to calm down. So even good things, you have to find a keli. So remember that story where the Rebbe Rashab wanted to give the baby a kiss? Frierdiker Rebbe? And he decided instead he'll give him a maimer. That's called Eires Bikelim. So you want to criticize if you do it right away, it's not a keli. It's just oir without a keli. You wait till tomorrow, you pick the right words, you pick the right mushal, you pick the right tone, you make sure you really should say it at all. Then when you say it, it has a tam, it has...
So time inevitably means keli?
Not inevitable, no.
So when...
On the contrary, the problem with waiting for the next day means next day you're not going to care anymore. No Rishima. So that's why, if you're really a machanech, you won't forget the next day. If the child is really important to you, you won't forget the next day. And then you will find the right words or the right message. You probably heard the story already. I was sitting in the Beis Medrash. It happens once in a while. I was sitting in the Beis Medrash in Montreal, and Rabbi Shvei comes over to me, and he says, can you do me a favor? I'm in a hurry. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, in the Pnim, it says it's one thing, and in the back, in the Kuntres Achron, he said, I'm not sure. I think it is. It could be its contradiction. Could be not. Take a look, and he ran out. So I took a look. Okay. The next day he comes back. You looked? I said, yeah. It seems like in the Kuntas Achen it's a little bit more barichas, but it's not a contradiction. He stands there. Like, you know, we're finished? No, he's standing there. He's thinking. Finally, he says, as calm as a, he says, ich will es Teile sein in Vollkeit. I'll blame it on laziness. It's like he was thinking, is this kid really mamish stupid, and or is he just lazy? He didn't really look. So he thought about it and thought about it. It took a long time until he decided, you know what? Okay, let's say it's laziness. You know what that did to me? For the rest of the week, I walked around thinking about that. I looked it up again and again. I thought about it in the middle of my sleep. I was like obsessed with it. And of course, there was a contradiction, and it was a big contradiction, and it was a whole. So finally, when I told him the kasha, the contradiction, the answer, there was he said, you should get smicha. You should learn for smicha. In other words, if you can figure out a Shulchan Aruch like that, then get smicha. So what did he do? He was a genius in this. Everything was by him, Mesuder. He wanted to say, you're an idiot. I asked you to look something up. What? You didn't look, you're not thinking. What would that have done to me? What if I were dropped out of yeshiva? Instead, he found the right keli. How do you tell somebody you're a lazy bum without discouraging? You pick your words, you pick your expression, you pick your timing. That's called putting it in a keli. There are a number of Bachrim that he did this to. And you talk to them today, 50 years later. It was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Oh my goodness. I'm old. 50 years ago, and you talk to them today. I know a handful of them that even after the year after I left, that he would sit down with a bacher, and in one conversation, it would like change his life completely. And with each one, a completely different approach, a completely different issue. He went over to one bacher. He was also a shliach now. And he said to him, "Was lernst du?" Told him. So he asks him a kasha on what he's learning. And the bacher is sitting there. So the Isaac says to him, "No." He says, "I'm thinking." So the Isaac says, "You're thinking the teretz?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, so you have a teretz?" He says, "No." He says, "So what are you thinking?" He said, "I'm trying to think of a teretz." He said, "How do you think of a teretz? You don't know the teretz. What are you thinking?" The kasha you already know. The teretz you don't know. So what are you thinking? The Bacha said, "What do you want from me?" Like, what? So he sat there and explained to the Bacha how to think. What does it mean you're thinking? When you have a question and you're looking for an answer, what are you thinking? Isn't that like the most fundamental thing in the world? Nobody ever explained this to you? Gib a tracht. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do that. Gib ma tracht. What does it mean? So the part that the Bacha remembers 50 years later, he says, before you have an answer, you have to determine where the answer is going to come from. You're looking for an answer. That's the expression, right? You're looking. Where do you look? Because there are a couple of places where you could look for the answer. You have to choose the right place. If your head is straight, a gleiche Kopf, you know where to look. A krumme Kopf means you don't even know where to look. So you're looking in the wrong place. So if you come up with an answer, it's going to be a krumme svara. It's not going to make sense because you're looking in the wrong place. What kind of places are there? What does it mean to find the place? Where is the answer? You have a contradiction. Yeah? In one place it says asvara that it's asur. In another place it says asvara that it's mutar. Where are you going to look? In the place that says asur and the place that says mutar. Where do you expect to find the answer? In other words, where is explanation missing? In the svara that says asur or in the svara that says mutar? There's a third possibility. Forget asur, forget mutar. Who said it and what else did he say? And go looking through the whole Shas. It's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel also said, make a whole pilpul based on what he said here, what he said there. Maybe there's the answer. Like, what is saying? Eishes Chayil. Memechrok tovi lachma. You're going to find an answer, you got to go to another Masechta, to another subject, something else Shimon said. A gleiche seichel knows where to look. So what does it mean? You're thinking of an answer? You're following the path where you think the answer is going to be. And sometimes you follow the path and you come to the conclusion that that's not where the answer is, so you start all over again, the other path. And there you find the answer. So there was a Maaseh with Alter Rebbe. I remember all the details here. Somebody came to the Alter Rebbe and he said that he can't take it. Kenish Leiden. His son is a big Balgaiva. Has a very good head, can good lernen, but the gaiva is just hard to take. So the Alter Rebbe said, tell him to come. They called him in. The Alter Rebbe asked him a kasha. Guy didn't know the answer. So the Alter Rebbe said to him, "It's a good kasha." He says, "Yeah, good kasha." The Rebbe says, "No, it's not." He found for the kasha. And he said to him, "It's a good teretz." The guy says, "Yeah, good teretz." He says, "No, it's not." And he showed how the teretz is not a good teretz with a kasha. Had a kasha on the teretz. And the Alter Rebbe said to him, "A good kasha?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "No, it's not." And they went back and forth like this about 6 times. And then the Alter Rebbe turned to the father and said, "You told me I can't learn it. Mizokta akasha, akasha, mizokta teretz, teretz." This is called learning. Anyway, the guy went out a head shorter. The gaiva was gone. Years later, and he was takia, a good head. The Alter Rebbe called him in once, and he said to him, "You know the Gemara, certain Gemara, very difficult. The words just very difficult. The Mordche, on the side of the Mordche gives up sapshat. Very difficult. Was sagt was apsis?" So this guy was talking al Lamden. He said, "Yeah, the Mordche's pshat is like." And what do you need it for? There's a much easier pshat. So the Rebbe said to him, "What's your pshat?" And he told him. And it fit more, and it was more. The Rebbe said, "Yeah." And then the Rebbe gave him 3 more ways of learning the Gemara. Every one of them was easier, better, fit into the words better than what the Martcha was saying. Then the Rebbe showed him how all 4, his and the Rebbe's 3 ways of learning, they Pasha don't work. They're not right. The only way to learn the Gemara is the way the Martcha learns it. And then the Rebbe said to him, "You think the Martcha went through all 4 explanations and worked his way and realized and then came to the conclusion that he came to?" No. He went straight to his explanation because that's the difference between a Rishon and an Achron. An Achron has to work through it. A Rishon sees directly. That's called knowing where to look. Told me a story. I heard a story from a guy who was, he had a drugstore. He was a chemist. He had a drugstore in Montreal. And he was one of these genuine seekers. He wanted to know MS, he wanted to know what's... And he had a friend who was a doctor. And together, they would study everything they could get their hands on. And when somebody came to town, it was a speaker, a philosopher, a professor, they would run to hear the lectures. And for years, they checked out everything, and it wasn't satisfying. He was, Yiddish Lecher Id, not frum. But when he had to say Kaddish for his father, he tried. So there was a camp, Gan Yisrael, in the Laurentian, and he was vacationing someplace there in the Laurentians, and he heard that there's a camp, so he came in to ask if he could say Kaddish. So Rabbi Yankel Shvei was there as a bocher, and he helped him put together the minyan, and he started asking him questions. And Rabbi Yankel said, for this you need to talk to my brother. And he set him up an appointment with Rabbi Isaac. They sat for a couple of hours, and Rabbi Isaac laid it all out for him. Eibishter created the world, Tachlis HaKavanah, life, the whole thing, the whole picture. The guy got so excited. He came with the doctor. He got so excited. After all these years, finally. So they walked outside after they finished, and he said to his friend, the doctor, he said, "This is awesome!" And the doctor said, "Oh, you became a fanatic," and they stopped being friends. The doctor didn't want an answer to his question. He just wanted a... But this guy, the chemist, Pashut became a Lubavitcher. Slowly, Miyushivdik. For a long time, they asked him to come to 770 with them. They would go a couple of times a year on a bus. You take a look at the old pictures of early Fabringans, the out-of-towners. Who were the out-of-towners? Montreal. So they kept asking him to come. Benjamin Katz, who's now in New Haven. He was a bacha then, and he got close with him. He learned with him, and he always, "Come with us." He said, I'm not ready, for years. Until one time, Yutes Kislev, he said, "Okay, now I'm ready to go." Comes to a Fabringen, and he's not the type to push. So he's standing in the back. Wants to say l'chaim. So he's holding up the kais. The Rebbe doesn't look at him. He tries by the next nigun. The Rebbe doesn't look at him. A third time. So he runs to Binyamin, and he says, "Why doesn't the Rebbe want to look at me?" So Binyamin says, "What are you talking about? There are a lot of people here. The Rebbe didn't see you. He doesn't want to look at you." He says, No. The Rebbe was not looking at me." The next night, all out-of-towners got to go into Yechidus. So he went into Yechidus. He walks into Yechidus, he starts to cry. He says, "Why did the Rebbe refuse to look at me?" By the Fabringen. So the Rebbe said to him, "Because I saw how excited you were, and I knew that if I would say l'chaim to you, you would go crazy altogether. So yeah, I was avoiding you." This guy is telling me the story. I'm sitting by his Shabbos table. I ate by him. Shabbos afternoon. So we came home from shul. We're talking, in ahead. He pours the becher. The becher is sitting here. I'm sitting here. And he's telling me how the Rebbe said that he saw how excited I was. And he knew that if he said l'chaim to me, I'd go altogether. And he knocks over the becher flew all over. Everything got... 8 years later, he was still so excited. So all of that was from Rabbi Isaac, simply laying out logically, what's life? What are we here for? What are we doing? And from all the chachmas and all the whatever he looked and checked before, it was this sounded. And that doctor never spoke to him again. So there's so many parts to the story. First of all, there's no such thing that Rebbe didn't see you. That's a cheap cop-out. Rebbe saw everybody. So if he didn't say l'chaim to you, there's a reason. And of course the reason is for your benefit. The other moral of the story is not every seeker wants to find. Sometimes you like your kasha better than the teretz. And that's a very difficult trap to get out of. There are people like this. They love the kashas. Teretz, but a kasha. Mm-hmm. Huh? There's no Ratzav Yeshuv. Yeah.
These are all Mashpia Makabel and Shalom. What about a person by himself with his own Aveda? Every person is in a Caleb situation, right?
Yeah. There are occasions where you make hachlotas. You can make a hachlota that has no keli, and it ain't going to happen. If you make a hachlota with kelim, today the guy says, I decide I'm going to be nicer to my wife. Yeah? L'mashal. I'm going to be nice. Where's the keli? Rebbe Rashab every year took on a new chumrah, Rosh Hashanah. So one time he took on the chumrah not to drink from the samovar, on Shabbos, not to use the hot water from the samovar. It's a chumrah, it's not a... Who was it? I think Isaac Homler, who was so frum. You can imagine what could he add? On Rosh Hashanah, he had to take on something more. Was made a hachlota that when he sweeps the floor, he shouldn't sweep it towards the door because there's a mezuzah on the door. So he would sweep it into the wall away from the mezuzah and then pick it up and carry it out. For the cheretz, for the mezuzah. So you think, Isaac, Hillel Paracha, if he makes a hachlota, wow, can you imagine what it is? Yeah, that he's going to sweep from. It's like, what? That's his hachlota? That's what a hachlota is. It's a prat. It's something specific. Not, oh, I'm going to become much better. What better? Where better? In fact, the smaller, the less ambitious the hachlota, the more real it is. And it'll happen. Everybody else makes achlotas, the same achlota every year. Because it didn't do it last year. So make the same achlota again. And you're not going to do it again. See, if that guy would make a achlota, after 10 o'clock you don't use your horn, would that not be an improvement in the whole universe?
Yeah, but it's hard to know what that will be a closure.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody wants to be good. The chachma is capture it in something. The whole Miftzat Tefillin. Remember the Rebbe Miftzat Tefillin? The Rebbe said, Israel is going to have a great victory. It's going to be stunning. And people will be so nis'eided and people will be so turned on. And then a week later it's going to be gone. How do you capture it in a keli? The Rebbe said, Miftzat Tefillin. Everybody's going to be so excited. The Nes Godel Hayapai. And then what? And everybody's going to say, oh, where did they and then what? So the Rebbe says, before the excitement peters out, capture it in something. And he thought about it and he said, you know, the best, quickest minute film. And since then, Eid is the Tayu in Kalim the Tikkun.
How is that Eidus to tell you though? By definition, when you're putting Eidus in Kalim, the Eidus have to, you know, if it's raw Eidus, it's not going to work.
Even Eidus the Tayu can be capturing. What is Eidus the Tayu? Wait one day and it'll disappear. That's Toyu. It's overwhelming but unrealistic. A guy, let's say a soldier, was in the war and he saw the Arabs running away for no reason at all. And he realizes there's an Eibishter. That's never going to go away. He won't do anything about it. But he realizes there's an Eibishter and that's permanent. That's Eibis the Tikkun. It's still missing a Kele. But it's an Eid of Tikkun. Eid is the Tayu is such an excitement that 2 days later it's going to be gone. Because it has no achiza.
So you would think that Rebbe would never tell us to use it.
That's why you
What?
You would think that the Rebbe would tell us to never, you know, tamper with Eidus to tell you.
No, if I cared.
You say to wait a day. You wait a day or two, right? And then you have the Eidus to Tikkun.
So the Rebbe waited a day or two.
No, but the Rebbe said we should use Eidus to tell you and kill him the Tikkun. Through Mashiach, right?
Oh, in Chavches Nissen.
Yeah, this is a little bit.
So what did he mean by that? What are the Eidas that tell you? I don't know what the Rebbe meant. But Eidas the Tayu in general means an Eid that you can't handle. Overwhelming. If you can capture that, in a keli the tikkun, you have a very powerful. So what about Mashiach can't we handle? What's
Control.
hmm?
Control.
But you see the different temperaments, the different types of people. Somebody comes and asks a question, and you give them the answer, they get so excited. Mamish, they light up. You have the opposite extreme. A person comes and asks a kasha with such excitement. But you give them an answer, and the excitement was all in the question. The answer is never exciting. Okay, so that's the answer? Okay. It's a completely different mentality of...
Is one of them right or just different?
I mean, ideally, the answer should be more exciting than the question. You would think, no? That's why I tell you, I was in the Chabad house in Milwaukee with Rabbi Shmotkin, and some guy comes in. I don't know if they had met before or not, but the guy starts right away with, what do you know? What do you know about, how do you know God? How do you know God? How do you know He gave it? How do you know? And he was really excited. And Rabbi Shmotkin says to him, did you ever read the Meir Nevuchim? He says, no, what's that? He said, did you ever read the Sefer Achkira? No. Did you ever read the Kuzari? He says, no. So Rabbi Shmotkin says, uh-huh. The end of conversation. Didn't try to answer him. He saw the guy is enjoying the kasha. He's not going to enjoy a teretz.
What's so overwhelming about Mashiach? Not sure.
There's so many elements in that sikha.
Not even necessarily in Tzichem.
In general, what is Eidos the Teu?
What's so exciting about Mashiach?
Oh. It's the Eibishter's final wish.
When the Rebbe said Eidos the Teu, he was speaking about Chasidim's Eidos the Teu, not the Eibishter's Eidos.
Right.
So the question is how. Seems like the Rebbe changed the game a little bit with Eidos the Teu. The Rishi was a little more Teudic than previously. A little bit, at least.
Oh. The Rebbe was very angry at a shliach who got himself into a lot of debt. And then he came running to the Rebbe crying. So by Fabringen, the Rebbe was saying, you have to have 10% debt. Right? The Frierdiker Rebbe said, if you're not 10% in debt, you're not doing anything. You have to, aber has to be Eidos the Teu and Kalim the Tikkun. So what was Eidos the Teu in that case? Spend, it'll be good, you'll find the money, it doesn't matter about wilde enthusiasm.